Hello everybody, ciao a tutti, welcome to Art with Ms. B. This is my second video, and today, as I told you in my first video in practice, we're gonna do another project all focused on the element of line. This is what actually I had in mind, so it's gonna be very nice and fun. Once again, as I told you in my introduction, so these videos are for every level, every age. If you're a child learning how to become better in art, these are very good videos for you to build strong foundations and a very good understanding on the elements and the principle of art and design. This is why I'm going like a baby steps. If you are like a teenager, an adult, or more experienced, feel free to get this practice, maybe to review some of the concept, to give yourself the time and the opportunity to work specifically on one element at the time. If you are a senior and you want just to do some exercise to keep your fine motor skills sharp, coordination between brain and hand, this is a wonderful 15-20 minutes practice that will help you to refocus, resettle, and do something creative, right? And if you're a parent of a homeschool child or homeschool children, these are very good video. I'm doing that actually with you in my mind, so you can actually use it to build a rigorous curriculum in fine arts, exactly the same way that they would develop in school, in elementary and in middle school. So for today practice, I will list the material in the description of the video, but I'm using a piece of paper. Today you can still use a regular copy paper. If you have mixed media, go for, but if you have like a regular copy paper, use what you have. I say multiple times, this channel and these videos are meant to be approachable, flexible, affordable, so don't stress yourself too much. Today I'm gonna also use two different medias because we're gonna use this exercise to contrast and compare. So I have color pencil and I will use a Sharpie. If you don't have Sharpies, any markers works fantastic. Bleak markers, Crayola markers, any type of markers. If you do not have markers, you can use the same media. Pencil, if you don't have pencil, you can use crayons. So once again, you can do exactly what I do with me, or you can do you and get what you think is the most important part of this practice. So I will now change the camera view so you can see my hand and we can start together. This is our material ready, and this is my piece of paper. So for today practice, the first thing that we are going to do, we are gonna fold the paper in a half. So make sure that the edges of and the corner and the edge of the paper match, and then you press it down and you have like a little sort of a small book. Okay, so now we are going to use one side to create a design using a type of line, and one side which is actually smooth and round, similar to the lines that we use for our first practice. Remember, this one was the first practice. We learned how to create a pattern that gives us an idea, an optical illusion of movement using a smooth, same type of line. And the other one instead, we're gonna be we're gonna use a different type of lines, which is a geometrical straight line. So this is something that when I do it in school, my students really love it, because we call it the crazy line project, the one line, because we point the pencil on the paper, we trace one single lines, and then we close the design exactly at the same spot that we started, and we lift up the pencil. Let's try together. You don't have to copy exactly what I do. If you want to do so, feel free. And remember, the secret is that you go slow, because you give your brain the time to coordinate your hands and also to manage what you're doing on the paper. Ready? We point the pencil and we start to have fun. We create a path, spontaneous, exactly as it comes, filling up the space that we have available, making sure that this line crosses over itself, as you can see, several times, because we want to create a design that will give us the opportunity to work inside the different spaces. This is, remember, in the S, sometimes in the plural. And here you go. So let me just feel like if we can focus a little better, and there you go. this is my beautiful design. Some people can, like students are so creative and sometimes they say, oh, Miss B, I do see a dancer here, I do see a flower here. You can see something in your abstract design or you can see nothing at all. As you notice, we have different spaces, 1, 2, the tiny 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 spaces. How many do you have? Now we try the same using a completely different type of line. So we point the pencil and we go like in a sort of a zigzag type of segmented lines. If you watch my first video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I go up and down, left and right, across the design. Once again, it is a completely different feeling from the first one because I feel like that you have to pause a little bit between one segment and the other just to make sure that you know how to orient your lines. And I'm gonna close it. Now I got space, space, space. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So all the space around this design, which is the design is the positive, the space around is what we call the negative. I will leave it white, but you are free to color it or create some patterns on the in the background. So we're gonna start to color. If you're using coloring pencil, I think that I'm gonna use a gentle media for the gentle design, and then I'm gonna use a bold, bright, intense media for this geometrical design, just because I feel that this is the way that I want to match them, but feel free to do the opposite if you want. So I'm gonna start to color, and when we color with the pencil, if you are an expert, you already know. If you are a beginner, remember that you can go like a short and fast. Please do not do long strokes. If you're like learning, right, that you are a beginning, you want to make sure that you're able to color inside this design, respecting the different spaces that you created. So please just go, take your time, go slow, and most of all, short strokes, which means a short movement of your hands, so you can control your hands and you can control your pencil, and it's not the other way around. So let's see, since we didn't do a lesson about colors, just for today, use the colors that you like the most, use the color that you think they will go together well, use the color that you might want to experiment with. There is no specific like a direction and instruction about colors, because we are going to do specific practice on colors together very soon, once we finish to do the practice on lines. I'm gonna put a little like some music as a background so we can relax. Try to fill the spaces inside with a very nice saturated color. When I say saturated, for the young artist, I mean something that is very intense, no gaps, no white underneath, like that we are really filling the space with the colors. And remember that when we practice art, we invite our mind and our body to be present to this experience, so we forget about everything else. We are focusing on our design, we are focusing on what our hands are doing. We remember to breathe in and out from the nose in a very gentle and natural way, filling up our body, chest and belly with air, in and out. It's like if some of you is familiar with yoga or Pilates. It's a sort of the same actually principle. It's just that we are working with our hands, we are working on our creativity, we are doing a fine art practice, and we are breathing with this practice because we want to help our mind and body to feel good and feel healthy. Remember that when if your hands get tired, you can always pause, stop, shake them, do some gymnastics, and then going back to coloring. Remember that you can always pause the video. If you want to go slow, go slow. If you want to do fast, go fast. You do you. And in this moment, I just want to pretend that we are all in the same classroom, and I am with you doing like this exercise and teaching you about lines and about the coloring technique with pencil and markers. We're just spending time together. Enjoying each other's company, although in a virtual community is a little different, but I really want that as much as possible in this channel we feel like a community of young, old artists, beginner, intermediate, senior, whatever, like all together, just spending some time together, learning something a little more and a little better, and practicing, and make our life just a little better thanks to this creative practice. I really like the way that this design is coming together. You see, with something so simple, just two elements, a line and colors, two elements of art, we can create something that is beautiful and is joyful. Remember that you don't have to copy exactly the colors that I'm using. If you want to, feel free to do the same. If you want to try different palette color, like different colors combination, feel free to do so. I don't need to color this space because, as you can see, it's open, which means that there is part of the background that I will leave white, something that I really like to do, mostly with my younger students. I just, oh, let me, I have tiny little triangle that I was forgetting. There you go. I like to do black outline, so I will use a black color pencil, and I will just like pretend to color over the lines to create a pretty thick and bold black line. I just like the way that makes the design look like. It gives a little bit more like stronger boundaries. It makes the design popping up from the paper, and it's just, I like, for example, when the younger students, they design something in class with me, I always invite them to outline, because it's a double exercise basically. They created the design with a pencil, and now with a color pencil or markers or whatever we are using at the moment, they are also able to kind of retrieve the design and go over one more time. And in this action of going over and following the lines, you kind of connect again and more at the deeper level with the design that you created. Nice. Feel free to use the black to create some nice shading if you want, going very gently on top of the colors. So you can create what we call value, darker and lighter spot. We are going to do specific lessons about value and specific exercise. So this is just like an option, an introduction to it. But you can already see, you can notice that when we add the value, so darker and lighter spot, like, you know, we add the kind of we add the little three-dimensionality to it. We add the more layer, like dimension and movement, and the piece is more interesting. Remember, it's not that you are coloring over with the black, but you're just going here and there to add darker spot that will contrast with lighter. This is optional, of course, if you like your design exactly as it is. Once you finish to color it and do the black outline, leaving it the way it is. And voila, for me this piece is done, and now I'm gonna switch to the other piece, and I'm gonna start to use markers, and you will see at the end you can contrast and compare, and you will see the huge differences between two different media. With markers instead, the technique that I advise you to use if you're a beginner, you see I'm kind of outlining the space that I want to color with a specific color, and then you set bigger and bolder boundaries, so it's easy for you to stay inside the shape. And you can use the technique of short strokes like this one, similar to the one that we use for the pencil. What I like to do with markers sometimes is just do just slightly longer strokes, but slower. It's like that you're tracing lines with the markers very, very close to each other, overlapping each other. Very nice and neat. You can switch, you can go in order of shapes and space, so you can actually switch the marker every time. I like to use the one color at the time and fill the spaces that I kind of want with the same colors, and then I switch to another. I think that this is my, the best technique for me, but once again, find your own. As a teacher, I teach you element and principle, I teach you rules, I teach you the right way to use a technique or a media. But as a student, you need to make it your own. You need to find your own way. After you really understand the element and the principle of art and design, after you understand how to use and adapt the different media to your creative process, it's really something personal, friends. So don't feel that you have to copy me in whatever I do. Just these are suggestions. And I've noticed that in school many of my students are taking over this technique and they are improving very quickly. So this is why I'm sharing with you. It is also a way to be gentle with the markers. Remember, my friends, that we need to be gentle with the art supplies. We want them to last as long as possible. Art materials can be very expensive. So out of respect for the money that you are investing and your parents are investing, we want to make sure that we treat them gently. So always put a lid and put it away. Remember, go at your own pace. It could be faster, it could be slower, depending on your age. on your level and your skills, and also what you like to do during your practice. I like to take my time. This is my little mindful activity of the day, so I'm really enjoying it actually. So I don't want it to be over too soon. Try to keep the same direction of the strokes, so if you go diagonal like I'm doing right now, keep it diagonal. If you're going vertical, keep it vertical. If you're going horizontal, keep it horizontal, just because with the markers we want to avoid, unless we are doing it with a specific purpose, but usually we want to avoid to see too many scribbles in different directions, because it will make the piece look, you know, a little messy. And then I leave the rest of the space white, as I told you, and this time for my outlines I will use a black Sharpie. Once again, as I told you at the very beginning, if you don't have Sharpie, it is not a problem at all. You can use any type of markers that you have available. The black outline also help us with tiny little mistake if we have to fix it, because maybe we went a little bit outside of the space. With the thick black lines, you can make it look like nothing happened. So no accident happened before. You can make the lines as thick as you need and as thick as you want. This is also a tremendous exercise for your fine motor skills. I'm gonna do this one pretty thick and bold because I don't want to see the line with the pencil, and I really like it because it's kind of framing the piece on the side. And actually I will contrast this one so bold with something really bold and thick also over here, to balance it. And maybe here I will do it a little thicker, and maybe this one I will do it a little thicker. Beautiful, love it. And it's all done. So thank you so much for practicing with me. Before we say goodbye, I just want you to point out the differences between these two designs. They're both extremely beautiful. This one is soft, right? And like we created using one line, but one soft curved line. This one is very bold and more geometric, and we use it like we did it using one line, but one type of straight and segmented lines. As you can see, what you can have, like the results that you can have using colored pencil or crayons, if you don't have them, it's very different than what you can have using markers. The markers gives you a very saturated, which means a very intense and bright color. There is no shading and no value. Value, as I introduce you a little bit, is like the dark and the light in a piece, is the way that we can add the illusion of the light eating a subject. In this case, I could add some value because the pencil allow us to go over to overlap different colors and different pencil. But don't focus about the value and the colors. Remember that this is my second video and the focus was all about lines. So I'm gonna turn the camera back on me so we can say goodbye, and I really wish I could see all of your beautiful pieces that we created together. Okay guys, our practice for today is over. This is the pieces that I created. You can see them, like we can put them in any direction. These are so cool, and I hope that you enjoy this practice with me, and now you have a better understanding of smooth lines, segmented geometrical lines, and also the big differences between two different media. Where do we put this paper? Remember what I say, we want to try to build a nice portfolio and keep everything organized. So if you are children watching me and doing the practice with me, the next thing to do is putting all of your supplies away. You need to be responsible as a young artist, and you need to really clean up the supplies. And then after you do so, as I'm just doing it right now, you're going to place the second practice with the first practice. We place them together, and if you have a paper or plastic folder, use the folder. If you have a big construction paper, fold it in half, and you can place all of your pieces, and you can write your name, decorate the cover as I do in school with my students. Remember, it is important to keep the material organized and neat because we are building up your foundation. So you want to make sure that you're always able to go back and look at this piece to see your improvement, or maybe just to be inspired, or compare two pieces that you did in two different times and see how do they look next to each other. I hope you really enjoy. I love to do art with you all. Please like the video, subscribe to this channel, and when you do subscribe, let me know that you did and say just hi. If you have any question about materials, if as a parent, as a student, please feel free to leave any that you want to ask in the comment, and I will be happy to help you out and answer. Ciao a tutti, goodbye everyone.